Now we would be at this phase in the appraisal ending season. All right, so this is an example of a performance plan with the modification. As you can see, the plan was created in May of 22, and then the next step taken was a narrative statement, which took place in August. This probably took place because a supervisor left the organization, so they provided a narrative statement. And then the next cycle taken was the plan being modified in September. This probably took place when a new supervisor came on board and updated the employee's plan. After that, you see that the employee received a progress review about 90 days after the beginning of the modified plan. On the screen now, you see a performance plan tracker that doesn't really show how we want it to look. As you see under the plan was approved in January of 2023, but the progress review was completed prior to that in October of 2022. All right, so annual appraisals. The annual appraisals are used via the My Performance tool in MyBiz. You can also use a physical copy, which is the DD Form 2906. This tool is used to create the performance plan, complete progress reviews, and close out the appraisal cycle. This tool documents the changes in the plans, the progress reviews, and employee input and performance narratives. For an employee to receive an annual rating of record, they must be on an approved plan for at least 90 days. The DPMAP performance cycle runs from April 1st to March 31st, which we are coming up to, and the monetary awards are effective June 1st, and the time off awards are effective June 2nd. Employees can be rated a 5, a 3, or a 1. 5 are outstanding with an average score of the elements of a 4.3 or greater. 3 are fully successful with an average score of 4.2 or less, and 1 is unacceptable. Please keep in mind that if you are planning on rating your employee a 1, that the entire appraisal will be calculated as a 1, and you will need to reach out to your servicing EMR specialist. All right, so evaluating performance. Employee input is not mandatory, but it's highly encouraged. The input provided by the employee will become a part of their performance record. So even if they leave the organization, whatever they put in the narrative will follow them. As a supervisor, you should complete the evaluations based on the duties and the responsibilities and how they're linked to the organizational mission and goal. A supervisor is required to provide a narrative for each performance narrative. The narrative will also be used as justifications for the awards. And any performance issues, or if you see any declines in the employee's performance, they should be addressed early on. The end of the year assessment for the employee. This is where your employees want to sell themselves, show how all of their accomplishments have affected the mission and goals. If there are any obstacles that they had to overcome, explain how they were able to overcome them. You want to make sure that they include any awards, recognitions, any trainings, or professional development they have completed during that cycle. All right, so up on the screen is an example of an employee narrative. Basically, you have the standard there, and then you see the employee's input. They give specifics on what they accomplished through the appraisal season. They also point out their recognitions they received. I'll leave this up for a few if you would like to read through it. Right. As far as the supervisor's requirements, the supervisor should request and consider the employee's input. They will write the narrative summaries for each individual element. The narrative should show the nexus between the employee's accomplishments and the impact on the organizational goals. The supervisor should also address any performance issues with the employee, and the approved and finalized ratings should be clearly communicated between the supervisor and the employee. Again, can't stress it enough. If you plan on rating your employee a 1, please contact your servicing EMR specialist. So this slide gives a breakdown of each rating level. Just quickly, the level 5 performers are employees that go above and beyond. Level 3 performers are employees who come in, get the job done. They may go above and beyond here and there, but not as often as a level 5 performer. And there's nothing wrong with being coded a 3 because it always allows for an opportunity to improve or set your own personal goals. And level 1 performers are categorized as unacceptable, and they're failing to produce the quality work that they require for their job. All right, so here we have a supervisor narrative example. The supervisor explained in detail the impacts the employees' work has affect how they have effectively helped the departmental goals and how they improve throughout the rating cycle. And you all can take a moment to read this slide. Okay, so here we have examples of 4 individual employee performance element ratings. Um, as you can see, they were rated between 5, 3, and 1s. We want to point out employee D, they received a 1 in element 4. If you receive a 1 in any of your elements, the total score will come out to be unacceptable. So again, contact your EMR specialist because different bases have different protocols. So to get the overall rating, the elements are added up and divided by the number of elements overall, and that will give you your overall rating. Right. Throughout the performance appraisal cycle, we highly encourage that the supervisors recognize and reward their employees. A simple thank you, a public recognition, medals, coins. As you can see on the screen, there's a bunch of different ways that you can recognize and acknowledge and reward your employees. Right. So during the final performance discussions, the supervisors should discuss the employee's input, the narrative input, and the rating rationale. After the discussion, you must document it in the My Performance tool with the employee's acknowledgement. If the employee doesn't agree with the rating, they still must acknowledge the rating, as changes cannot be made without the employee's acknowledgement. Um, Supervisors should definitely attempt to resolve any rating disagreements informally. If they can't resolve this disagreement, um, bargaining unit employees are afforded the negotiated grievance procedure. Non-bargaining unit employees can use the administrative grievance procedure, and The employees also have the right to appeal performance-based action through the MSBP, which is the Merit System Protection Board. But again, I'm not sure where everybody's located, but contact your servicing EMR specialist. All right, so we'll go over specially situated employees. So those include employees that are on details, employees that are on extended absence, paid leave, and also military service, and employees on full-time long-term training. So if you have an employee on a detail, the supervisor should reach out to the detail supervisor to get feedback and input on the employee's performance. If you have a person that's on extended leave or on leave without pay or away for military service, uh, they must be on a performance plan for at least 90 days to be eligible for a rating of record. And if they haven't been on a plan for 90 days and performing under that plan for at least 90 days, then they will not be eligible for a rating of record at the end of the cycle. And employees that are on long-term full-time training, the performance elements will be written based on the training objectives, and they are eligible, again, if they are on that performance plan for at least 90 calendar days. So if an employee or a supervisor departs during the rating cycle, there are a few things that you would need to do. If the employee serves under the approved plan for at least 90 days, and the supervisor is leaving, the supervisor would need to provide feedback in the form of a narrative statement so the new supervisor can use that at the end of the appraisal cycle. A rating of record is also required if they have performed on that plan for 90 calendar days and there are less than 90 calendar days remaining in the cycle. If the supervisor leaves before they're able to write the narrative statements, the higher level reviewer will serve as the rating official. All right, so once you get through the appraisal cycle, the next thing you want to consider is planning for the next appraisal cycle. You'll use this time to reflect on the past appraisal, provide input for the next appraisal, and this is a great time for the supervisors to review the employees' PDs to make sure that they are accurate and up to date and that the employees' elements reflect the actual responsibilities and duties that are being performed. This is an opportunity for the employees and the supervisors to have a discussion on any shortfalls within the current plan, what couldn't be assessed, and ensure that the plan is thought out and smart, which is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So the performance plans are due 30 April. All right, so now we will go through the My Performance tool and cover the rating official and employee input. All right, so once you log into My Biz, we have some screenshots here. We'll show you what you should see. So you want to log into My Biz and select My Performance. Once you get to the screen under Performance Plan, you're going to, under Action, you're going to change the drop down to Update and click Go. And then at the top of the screen, you'll see the plan, progress reviews, annual appraisal, narrative statements, and view and print. So since we're at the end of the cycle, you want to click on annual appraisal and then inputs and ratings. Here you will see the blank boxes, and this is where your employees will put their input, and they will click through each one, selecting go next to element, go go to the next performance element until they reach the end. Once all of the elements are complete, they want to click save and continue. So you will see at the top, the sub-tab will change from inputs and ratings to approvals and acknowledgements. So once you select your action where the red arrow is, you select go, and then you will start the process. So now that the plan is under the rating official's ownership, they can go and select the action to update the plan, the appraisal. They'll have to go through and accept the supervisory acknowledgements.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I just had a question. Earlier, you provided the suspense date of performance plans being done by 30 April. What is the ideal time for a member to provide their employee inputs? What's the appropriate suspense date for that, given the appraisal cycle?
Well, the appraisal cycle is ending soon, so you guys can start or should have been already starting to put your inputs in. The 30 April date is for the next appraisal
I
cycle.
understand. But what I was curious is should we wait until the appraisal period is over? Or you're suggesting it should be done before the end of the appraisal period?
Yes, you can start putting your inputs in now because the appraisal season ends in about 2 weeks.
Understand. I just curious. I was curious if, in fact, it was inappropriate to complete employee inputs until the end of the appraisal cycle.
Yes, as long as you're rating them and they've been on the approved plan for at least 90 calendar days.
Right. And then on the rating official input, when is the appropriate deadline for rating officials to provide their input?
So the Mr. Phillips sent out the timelines and everything, so I can get with you offline and show you. I'm not sure if you received it or not, but each
I'll
organization is
check that.
different.
The fact that you mentioned the date earlier on the news cycle, I was curious why you didn't include the reference dates on your presentation, but I'll check for the Phillips email and thank you.
No problem. Okay, so the rating official will review the employee's input and they will add their narrative for each performance element. They'll click through and go through the same process until they cover all of the elements. All right, so when the rating official selects the rating, either a 5, 3, or 1, the rating of record will be calculated. The average score will automatically be calculated. You can see it circled in red. So to get the process started, the rating official will select start for step 1, and the appraisal will be transferred to the high level reviewer. Once the high level reviewer reviews the appraisal, it will be kicked back to the rating official, and the rating official will communicate with the employee and document their communication. You'll put the date, the method of communication. If the employee is unavailable or unwilling to sign or acknowledge the appraisal, the supervisor can acknowledge it on their behalf. Right. And like I said, you'll be able to put that acknowledgement in. There are options on the drop down if the employee is unable or unwilling to sign. So we added a slide with all of the references, the Air Force guidance, and there's a link to my biz. And DC Pass also offers a bunch of models and resources on their site. So we put that there as well. So do we have any questions? I can go through the chat. I'm sorry, we're a little short-staffed today. So if I don't get to the questions in the chat, I will follow up with an email. So I see there were a few questions and there were some responses provided. Are there any specific questions? If you raise your hand, I can go to your specific question. Yes, ma'am. We could start with Miss Rocket.
Hi, good morning. So my question is, we currently have like a RO who is no longer in the squadron, and an employee didn't like the feedback or the rating that the RO currently gave, and they're currently deployed on the assignment. And the HRR is still um here in the command. However, the employee wants to know she's able to go back. She didn't provide input for the NATO review back in October. And she wants to know if she can go back and edit the plan to make to give input regarding the rating she received.
Okay. I am not sure where are you located?
Um, the 844th communication group.
Okay. All right. So I'll contact you offline and get you a response for that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Colonel Fazio.
Hey, I should a question in the chat, and it was about the ability for employees to appeal a fully successful rating. Are they able to do that? Doesn't matter what you give them if they believe they were unjustly or unfairly rated because they were given a 3 instead of a 5. Is there appeal process? I think you went over that in the slide, and it sounds like the answer is yes.
Yes, so if it depends on their bargaining unit status. So if there are bargaining unit members, then they would go through the negotiated grievance procedures. If they are non-bargaining unit members, then they would go through there's one for, I'm sorry, it's lost track of it, but there's one for non-bargaining members as well.
No, okay, I think that helps. Thanks. I just got to figure out status of folks. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And you're at the Pentagon, so your EMR specialist, if you contact Ms. Carla Bockham, she should be able to point you in the right direction.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Mr. Jeffrey.
There, I just had one other question on the subject of performance elements. Does the supervisor have the authority to not include a feedback on a specific performance element if it is deemed inappropriate for a given year? And I'll just offer an example of a firefighter who is assigned to put out fires, but there's no fires during the performance year. Is it okay for a supervisor to eliminate a performance element in an individual's rating, or is it a mandate to include all?
Yes, so if the supervisor is required to provide a statement for each element, in that statement, they could simply say that there weren't any fires to be put out.
So, I'm just curious, if there's nothing to essentially rate within that given cycle on that performance element. Is it okay to exclude it then?
So that would require you to modify the plan, and we would have to extend out the appraisal cycle for the individual.
So if you want to
So we
change a performance element, do so prior to 90 days before the performance
Yep.
period.
Yes, so because they have to be on they have to perform under that plan and elements for at least 90 days.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
All right, do we have any other questions? I see we have a question about DSIPS employees. We do not provide training here for DSIPS employees. I'm not sure who would, but if you're at the Pentagon, just reach out to Ms. Baucom and she may have some information on those sessions. Yes, the slides were provided in the invite. We could drop them in the chat as well. All right.
Hey, Ms. Barnes, got a question for you. You mentioned her name.
Yes.
Could you provide the spelling of her name and point of contact? Thanks.
Yes. Okay, I just put it in the chat.
Thank you.
All right. There's no other questions. I'll send it back over to Ms. Robinson.
Could you repeat? Are there any other questions? If there are no other questions, thank you, Ms. Barnes, for presenting, and thank you all for attending today's training. Please take the time to complete the survey by going to the link in the chat. The recording of today's training will be uploaded up on the AFDW University website in about 24 to 48 hours. Once again, thank you again and have a great remainder of your day. This concludes the training.